Oh, I've been muted. I apologize. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Insanely13. Real quickly, let's go ahead and run you through the starting grid here. Apologize for that hiccup. Your pole sitter in prototypes will be VER, TTA 111, discard 1 Stint 1 from the pole. Then will be Apex, IRISG, LMP Nano, AMS Jamesy, THR Zabri, V Luzco, Jabingus, and Sea Dwarf. After that, you get to the GT category. Pole sitter there will be Maybe Racing, followed by RZM Lucas, AMS Phantom, Dearth ILWM, Dangus 57 Hemi, VGT Exceller, then it will be, oh come on, then it will be EMC Vision, Lalba 9885, King Cameron 1607, LMP Flow, Vindala Inhu, I don't know how to say that name, Skid Marco, Racing Bacon, and last will be NWR Origin. I hate trying to make that rail cam work. I only use the rail cam at the very start of these events to run through the grid, because otherwise that rail cam constantly breaks and constantly locks up the entire control thing. I'm doing all but a full reset to try and get control back. I do not like the rail cam in this game at all. For those of you who missed Stint 1, big drama. We could be looking at 3 different winners in GT based on how the distance penalties and overall position ends up. One of those drivers, RZM Lucas, is actually running in this here Stint 2 as well. So yeah, we'll be looking at that. That could end up going in a lot of very interesting ways going forward. We also should be running on track here very shortly. We'll start seeing the drivers rolling in about 50 seconds here. So yeah, once we see the field going through this camera angle, we'll know they'll start going. They will start accelerating right before they get underneath that Dunlop bridge there. All right, here we are. You can now hear them starting to roll. There goes your prototype field. GTs will take a little bit more time to get there. As we watch, as they come under the Dunlop Bridge, TJ accelerates with no issue. We are underway here for Stint 2 at LeMans. Immediately, Jamesy is trying to make something happen on Nano for third. And that will let IRC hold on to station. Jamesy still running that same setup with the rear end squatted down and the nose raised up. You can see the car sliding as they come onto the Mulsanne straight. But now this is where that setup should let Jamesy open up a bit of a gap, trying to outrun his rivals on the straightaway as the top 3 have kind of pulled away from the rest of the field here. They touch once, maybe twice, might even be 3 times as they go down the straight, but someone has to brake early. I think Zabri is gonna have this. Under heavy braking they go. Contact again, but Zabri accelerates out, and Zabri will now move back into 4th. Here comes V Luzco trying to get by Jamesy here. But Irisky has already gotten by TJ at the head of the field, and Nano is now the one making it work on TJ. So TJ in the car that won and led the majority of Stint 1 in this category has already slipped to 3rd. He gets right behind Nano, tries to make something happen to him on the second Mulsanne chicane, but can't make it stick. Meanwhile in GT, Maybe started on pole in Stint 1. He started on pole in Stint 2. In Stint 1 though, he fell to 6th at the end. If he wants to avoid that, he needs to stay ahead now, but Dearth is making it very difficult for GT versus BMW M8. Flying up the hill now. And RZM Lucas, who is the fastest driver in Stint 1, is closing back in. Lucas got by Maybe in the first lap in Stint 1. Will he try and do the same here in Stint 2? Into Mulsanne corner, the most aggressive braking zone on the track. The field fires out. Look at that chaos farther back in the grid, but everyone makes it through Mulsanne corner without too much issue this time. Zabri has already fallen to last in prototypes. Has something gone wrong for Zabri again? I don't see any damage, but he is falling to 8th all over again. The frustration. Lucas has gotten alongside. They're gonna be 3 wide for GT lead. 3 wide. There's contact. The Ford GT is going way off. Dirt. ILW win. Goes through the dirt. No damage. He kept the car off the tire barrier somehow. I cannot believe that ILW did not destroy the car. They'll be frustrated, but the car is alive. He has time to gain track position back. Maybe holds the lead still in GT. Lucas runs in second now. It's Apex IRISG who leads in the hypercars and the prototypes. That Ferrari trying to close in on Maybe right now, but Maybe might finally be able to lead a lap here on merit in the stint. Meanwhile, IRISG and Nano have both absolutely blitzed away from the rest of the field early on here. TJ has fallen back just into the clutches of Luzco. Zarbi is already back up to 7th, but whatever has cost him earlier, once again, he is trying to dig himself out of an early hole. But in GT, finally, Maybe leads a lap on merit. Wasn't the most aggressive, punchy driver in Stint 1, but Stint 2, Maybe is putting on a solid defense. Lucas is doing some frustration. What in the devil is that, Phantom? Phantom just blew on track, the track limits there. I think he actually lost time in the process, so I think Phantom might have had some sort of issue under braking and completely missed the track and lost a big chunk of time in the process. Now he's in the dirt. Yeah, something's gone wrong with Phantom. That car does not seem to have the front end grip that it needs, and I have to wonder if maybe there's a setup issue. You see that he's got one of these cars that have the raised nose and the squatted rear, and that really takes away from front end grip aerodynamically. So I wonder if that might be hurting Phantom's ability right now. Lucas not on top of Maybe this time. LCA damage to the car. And there's 3rd place Acceler closing in on Lucas. So while Lucas immediately went to the front over Maybe racing in Stint 1, now we see that Maybe is actually holding his own, pulling away a bit, and here comes Acceler. BMW on Ferrari as they rush down towards the 2nd Mulsanne chicane. Who goes deeper under braking? Oh, it looks like it'll be the BMW. Lucas is not trying to push the issue here. Luzco now clears TJ for 3rd in the hypercar category. Ferrari looks to the outside. Big twitch, big slide. Lucas gets a better exit, but the car does not have the grip and it slides out from under him. He's still right tucked up behind Acceler, nose to tail. On the longest straightaway here, and they'll go into a high-speed corner for the Indianapolis and Arnage sections of corners. The Ferrari tried to complete the overtake on the outside. And Acceler falls in line behind Lucas, so Lucas gets back into 2nd, now under heavy braking. Acceler being a lot more restrained, a lot more defensive, is fine with letting Lucas take the position. You do not want to have an instant in those corners. for Dearth, ILWN, who had an instant in those corners last lap. Just trying to make his way back up to the grid, but is still back here in 20th. In 12th position. Meanwhile, once again, in the prototype category, we look at Zabri. Worked his way back up in the 5th. Is TJ ahead? Zabri has to be frustrated. Had a relatively good first few corners, but a mistake dropped them to last in this grid again. Now he's making up more ground earlier here, but still, Zabri has to be really frustrated with how the early parts of his stints have just not been going well. TJ and Luzco having a drag race here for 3rd position. TJ has the straight line speed advantage. Goes deep into the corner and will be able to hold it for now. But Zabri has just about caught them. Now it's Luzco who tries and steps up for an inside line move on TJ, who's right on board with Zabri as we watch this fight for 3rd continue. Iris T and Nano have opened up a nice little gap on the rest of the field for now. Oh my goodness, Zabri closed in so much under braking there, because his braking line was not really compromised at all by fighting with another driver. Now he's right in Luzco's draft. Now it does look like Luzco and TJ have a setup that is a little bit faster in a straight line, but Zabri is there. If one of these drivers having a mistake here, Mulsanne corner, is Zabri gonna get? Zabri looks to the inside! He's side by side for a position, and he'll get him! He'll clear Luzco! And here comes Seedorf trying to follow! Zabri tucked up behind TJ. Does he make a move into the Indianapolis and Arnage corners? He looks to the inside. TJ's not really going to be able to fight him off. They'll be in a drag race or not. Is TJ going to back out early? TJ has to back out early. And Zabri now moves into 3rd. TJ now under threat from Luzco and Seedorf. Somehow, they all kept it out of the tires there. They all went really wide, but they keep it out of the tires for now. And for a lead, Lucas finally clears maybe racing, but it took many more laps this time than it did in Stint 1. Both cars missed their ideal braking zones coming into the 2nd Mulsanne chicane, and now maybe has a draft off of the Ferrari of RZM Lucas. Lucas wants a repeat of what happened last stint without the self-inflicted errors and without the track cutting. Now maybe looks to the outside. Uphill. Now downhill into Mulsanne corner. Oh, going side by side through here is a big ask, but maybe is committing to it. Lucas cuts maybe off just at the last possible moment, and Lucas holds on to the lead for just a little bit longer. Nose to tail race. Now maybe goes to the outside. So it's a drag race. BMW M8 versus Ferrari. Who backs out? Who goes deeper into the corner? These two went side by side through here earlier with the 3rd car. The 3rd car went off. Maybe is the one who backs out this time. Lucas holds station. Maybe trying to stay within Lucas's draft. For the big thing for maybe though is that he's got another BMW Big Boy M8 behind the form of VGT Acceler. My goodness, I missed it, but Zabri has been flying through this field. He's already up to 3rd and was fine with 2nd for Nano for a bit, but the two of them had a bit of a hiccup there, going through the first Mulsanne chicane, and now here we go again. Zabri on the ideal line, Nano on a hyper defensive line, trying to keep Zabri from getting any sort of draft off of him. Now Nano moves over just to get onto the normal racing line. Zabri's there. Zabri's nearly into the outside wall. Iris C might be a little bit concerned because Zabri is still the fastest car on track. Might have a shot running Iris G down. Zabri around the outside. Can he make it work? He does. He's by. Incredible. All right, now we see Nano looks to the inside of Zabri. Trying to make it side by side, going into the Indianapolis and Arnage corners. Nano goes deeper. Nano slides wide. The car twitches multiple times, but I think he's got the position. But Zabri will cross it back over. Side by side again now into Indianapolis. Nano goes deep. Zabri gives him the position, gives him the room. This fight is not over yet. Now Zabri comes to the outside. Side by side into the Porsche curves this time. And Zabri gets up. We're gonna have to go to a Twitch mandated ad break here, but we'll follow on this fight as long as we can as Zabri continues his fight up the grid here. And then he's around! He's hard into the wall! Massive accident into both walls! The same part of the track he wrecked at in the prior set, and this time their car is destroyed! Everything is ruined! Everything is destroyed! Everything is destroyed on Zabri's car for the second time in 2 stints! Agony and frustration, fear and loathing in Circuit de la Sarthe for Zabri. And for Nano, a bit of relief because now he can just focus on putting off lap time here. Of course, we're under ad break just when that happened. Welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. We are watching the fights for first, second, and third in GT. But literally just as the mandated ad break kicked in, Zabri, for the second time in 2 stints, had a gigantic accident in the Porsche curves. Bouncing off of both walls, destroyed every single aspect on the car. Engine destroyed, springs destroyed, aerodynamics destroyed. And Zabri went from fighting for second to last in the prototypes. Now, if you're catching this on the YouTube broadcast, once it gets uploaded to YouTube about 2 to 3 days after the race proper, you'll see it as it happened. But those of you watching on Twitch, sadly, you missed it, as Zabri had a gigantic accident. And while we caught it, Twitch ad break demanded that you would not be able to see it, and I do apologize for that. But the focus now is on the fight for first, second, and third in GT. Lucas leads over Maybe Racing Exceller, but Lucas does not have nearly as big of a gap on these drivers as he did at this time in Stint 1. And then in fourth is AMS Phantom. Phantom ran near the top of his grid early on in Stint 1, but had a bit of a spin and fell way down the order and just could not regain most of the time. So Phantom now running a little bit closer to where his actual pace should put him. Sea Dwarf and TJ now swap positions. TJ just not nearly as fast as his teammate who won Stint 1 is. And TJ may have started high up, but he's just been bleeding off time as this event has gone on. Be careful here through the forward chicanes. TJ don't want to make it move in there. Wisely, he chooses not to. If I gain offline like that, now TJ exposes himself to lose co as well. Luzco and TJ keep fighting each other, and every time they fight each other, they drag each other down the grid, and then TJ kind of figures it out, opens up a bit of a gap on Luzco, and then someone else finally catches him, and then TJ suddenly finds himself fighting with Luzco again. Another driver to keep an eye on, Dirth Ilwin. He went 3 wide with Lucas and Maybe Racing going into Arnage, and Ilwin spun out, did not damage the car. Somehow, at the fastest corner on the track, he spun out and avoided the wall, fell to last in GT, but he's now been on the recovery drive, has worked his way up to 13th, which would be 5th overall. He still has a long way to go before he gets to the leaders of Lucas, Acceler, Baby, and Phantom. So now, while Lucas leads, it is now Acceler who has the forward momentum. Farther back in the GT grid, at the rear of the GT field right now, is NWR Origin. Then, Vidalinhu. This is the Porsche, I believe. Yeah, this is the Porsche that is going to be in a really interesting scenario. Vidalinhu's teammate Amaryllis made their last stop too late and will likely have a big distance penalty coming. For those of you who were not aware, we have 3 different drivers that could have ended up winning Stint 1 in the GT category. The first, the farthest up with the most distance, will likely get a penalty off the back of making the final pit stop too late. Second place, the Ferrari of Lucas, made a whole lot of track cuts, and then you had third place, which is a Ford GT, was quite a ways off. I don't know if it'll be close enough to take the win, so we won't really know who won that first stint, probably until after the event is all the way done and over. Then you have EMC Vision, who's just trying to make something happen here. Not really a happy with the car. Then Racing Bacon, who is the lobby host in this event, and that number 23, 711 Porsches. The Porsches are just not really performing right now in Stint 2. Then you get LMP Flo. Flo had a 4th place finish in Stint 1, but all kind of fell apart. For a moment, it looked like a second might be in the cards, but in the end, I think Flo's going to get 4th. Might get 2nd or 3rd based on how the penalties work out, but Flo was 4th there. Then you have Skid Marco, having a quiet day right now here in 8th in GT. And we are now underway for our first round of pit stops. Look at that. Everyone in the GT category except Skid Marco and Dangerous Hemi all pitting at the same time. What is Dangerous Hemi's strategy looking like? Well, he's only at 29% tire wear. Also on the same note, obviously Zabri's already made his 2nd stop. But V. Luzco and Jamesy also going long. So most of these drivers only went about 20 minutes on their fuel and tires. Lucas will come out pit lane ahead of... Oh, it's Jabingus! Jabingus in the prototype category suddenly drops out. And now there are only 7 prototypes left. This is the fight for what should be 3rd overall. Lucas, maybe an Acceler. AMS Phantom is close enough to capitalize if they have an accident, but he is not putting any direct pressure on this fight. Vidalinhu is making a 2nd stop, so I wonder if something happened to Vida, who, I wonder if something's happened that caused him to have to make a pit stop early on, maybe an accident or something. But Vidalinhu may now have to rely on running mediums and doing a kind of a modification of the strategy that got Amaryllis near the front in Stint 1. As that car is now in 2nd, way behind the rest of the field. The focus now is at the fight at the head of the GT category. Lucas sideways under braking. maybe racing underneath Lucas, or not underneath, but behind Lucas. Got a draft, but right now Lucas seems to be just good enough coming out of the corners that while maybe gets a draft advantage, Lucas's acceleration out of the corners is able to negate it. For those of you who missed, which sadly is going to be the majority of the field, Zabri, for the second stint in a row, frustration. Started midfield, fought his way up to about third in the first few corners, went off, fell to 8th in prototypes, started fighting his way back up the field again. Got up to third, was fighting with LMP Nano, and coming through the Porsche curves. Sadly, just as we went to ad break, so it didn't get properly covered live, but we did see it happen, Zabri had an accident. Bounced off of both the inside and outside walls, head on and tail on. Destroyed every aspect in Zabri's car, and he had to pit. So now Zabri has been put at the back of the running prototypes. A pit stop ahead of the rest of the field, but so far behind in distance after that massive accident. And Zabri's chance at bringing his team home a good result evaporated. Because while Zabri is one of the fastest drivers on track in the prototype category, his inability to keep his nose clean has completely derailed his run. V. Luzco and Jamesy now pit, so this should hand the lead over to Apex IRISG, who is right now right behind the fight in the GT category lead. As we see Dangerous Hemi and Skid Marco in the pits right now, and there goes Baby on Lucas side by side on the run up to the Ford chicane. Drag race, Lucas backs out. Will give Maybe the position. So Maybe was not super racy in stint 1, but he is really aggressive here in stint 2. Dangerous Hemi still in pit lane and will be overtaken easily. So Maybe started on pole in stint 1, but fell to 6th. Here he started on pole in stint 2, but he has been really elbows out, really fighting aggressively here. And Exceller continues to run in 3rd place. Now Exceller's the one who's putting Lucas under pressure again. So while the prototype fights, again, kind of all spread out and dissolve after about 30 minutes or so, GT continues to be the category that really is impressing here. Oh my goodness, that is some bold passing by Sea Dwarf. There's Luzco and Nano who are in a fight of their own. And here it comes! Lucas on Maybe racing there briefly 3 wide with one of the prototypes, and Lucas overtakes Maybe now! Completely done with the overtake before they even get to the braking zone. No one in these 3 cars seem to have a significant definitive advantage over the other. Bit of a twist by Lucas coming out of the Mulsanne chicane, and Maybe pulls up behind. He'll get a big draft out of the Ferrari going down the back straightaway once again. Here comes Maybe. He pulls out. They'll be side by side again. And here comes another prototype. But it will clear him well before they get to the braking zone. Maybe's got the car ahead. But Lucas goes deeper. Maybe all around the outside. Can he make it work? He does. Exceller cuts the track. Has been 3 wide for a GT lead. And Exceller is going to go to 2nd. Could Exceller go to the lead on the outside? There are 3 wide for GT lead. Side by side, as they run uphill, then downhill. Someone has to back out. Exceller will back out. Maybe will back out. They'll give Lucas the position. But now the BMWs are side by side. Exceller goes deep under braking. But Lucas still has the lead as they come out of the Mulsanne chicane. Ferrari, BMW. Tail to nose for the top 3 positions in GT. Lucas has it. Exceller has a run. He goes to the inside now. Maybe runs right behind both of them. We saw these guys go 3 wide coming into the Indianapolis corner earlier. Are they going to try and do it again? Side by side. Lucas is deep. Exceller is still there on the outside. They're still side by side. Exceller on the outside gets him. And now Exceller goes to the top in GT. Maybe goes for a gigantic dive bomb and compromises everybody's lines. Acceler gets out of the corner first. RZ of Lucas now gets out ahead of Maybe. So a small advantage in Acceler's favor now. And that will be Phantom in the Ford GT in 4th place. Slowly closing in on this fight. Maybe looks to the inside. Lucas cuts the nose off on him as he goes through the Porsche curves once again. Boy, Acceler timed that move perfectly. For Lucas cutting on the track, at least 5 times in Stint 1, but here in Stint 2, I've not really seen anything. He's been relatively clean on track in Stint 2. Has actually been maybe a little bit too conservative considering how many times he's let the BMWs beat him into the corners. But Acceler has finally opened up a bit of a gap on Lucas and Maybe. About 33 minutes into the stint, so about a third of the way through Stint 2 here. And it looks like this battle has finally calmed down just a little bit. Oh, and as I say that, Phantom has just about caught Maybe. And Acceler made a mistake. Acceler really sideways. And Lucas is closing in on him once more. And Maybe is going to have to deal with Phantom as well for 3rd. So now there's a fight for 1st and a fight for 3rd in GT. Onto the backstretch once again. Acceler has it. Lucas wants it back. The Ferrari has the draft off the BMW. Maybe is far enough back to not really be able to do anything for it at the moment. So Lucas dives to the inside. They'll be side by side as they head into the braking zone. No, they won't. Lucas completes the overtake on Acceler before they even get to the braking zone. But he goes so deep, they ends up leaving himself vulnerable to Acceler. But Acceler is having trouble getting traction coming out of the chicane. So yes, Lucas back to the lead. Acceler behind again. He's got the draft on the Ford GT once more. Now he looks to the inside. Maybe he's a little bit too far back to capitalize. Nose to nose. They are in a dead heat pretty much. Heavy under braking. The BMW goes deep, really deep. The Ford GT cannot follow. He has to back it off so he doesn't run into Acceler. So Acceler gets the lead back on Lucas. Now Lucas has the draft on Acceler on the run down to Mulsanne Corner. And while all this is happening, Maybe is starting to close in, but Maybe spent just enough time fighting with Phantom that 5th place in GT. LMP Flow is starting to come into fray as well. So a Ferrari, a Ford, and 3 BMWs in the top 5 at the moment. Out of Mulsanne Corner, Acceler has it, but Lucas is right there. Does Lucas have enough of a draft to try and make it side by side? Not quite nose to tail. Is Lucas going to try and make a big dive? A big run. Here he comes around the outside. He's got to run side by side with the BMW into the fastest corner on track. He completes the overtake before they get to the braking zone. Acceler has a little bit better exit. Lucas has the position. I think that's it. We'll have to take a mandatory ad break. Lucas. Oh, Lucas. Can he get him? Side by side. He's got him. Welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. When we left you, Lucas was leading, but going through the very end of the Porsche curves, Acceler held on the outside around the longest of the Porsche curves to make an overtake on Lucas. But now Lucas has caught the draft, and they're side by side once again, going down the first third of the Mulsanne straight, and again, Lucas gets him. The Ferrari is so much faster in a straight line, but the BMW is so much better in the majority of these corners, and now AMS Phantom has cleared Maybe Racing, and we are going to have BMW on Ferrari on board, and with a menage a trois here at the head of Circuit de la Sarthe. Acceler looks to the inside of Lucas, side by side, again. Now the Ferrari seems to be faster in a straight line normally. How deep can Acceler go under braking? Really deep! He'll complete the overtake exactly like he did last time! But this time Lucas is prepared! He sets himself up to be side by side on corner exit! Lucas has a little bit easier time putting the traction down, but the straight line speed advantage for Lucas lets the Ferrari edge ahead! He's got the car dead even with Acceler. They're in a drag race, and look farther back. Flo is there, and now Racing Bacon is there. The top 6 in GT all are within the same straightaway, in some areas the same camera shot as each other. Lucas leads as they come out of the Mulsanne corner once again, and now into the longest straight on the track. A bit of prototype traffic, but it shouldn't have too much of an impact. They'll be able to clear them well before they get to the braking zone. It is Lucas versus Acceler. This GT fight will not quit. For those of you wondering what happened to Villain, who sadly we did not catch it, but we believe that his Porsche may have had an accident in the first few minutes, which has forced him to make his first stop extremely early to repair damage. We're hoping that things can turn around for him, but Villeneuve's race seems to have been derailed by an early incident today. We've not really had a chance to look at the majority of the field thus far. It's just been this prolonged fight, and GT from first down to 6, primarily the top 2 positions here. The Ferrari of Lucas slid really wide from the rear of the car coming into the Porsche curves. Look at this. This is it. This is where Acceler made the move earlier, but this time the door is shut on him by Lucas. Acceler looks to the outside again, but does not have the momentum. He made a move on the outside here last time around. Can't make it this time because Lucas was prepared. Slammed the door on the BMW this time. Ferrari seems to be kitted out for straight line speed. The BMW more for quartering. Racing Bacon and LMP Flo, who are a little bit farther back in this fight, will pit early. They want to get off sequence. They don't want to spend too much time fighting with other drivers here. They want to maximize their time in clean air to try and get ahead. And with how tightly packed up the top 6 were, that strategy might honestly be a very, very smart one. Lucas runs just a little bit ahead of Acceler. Acceler is not going to push the issue under braking. Not this time, not now. Now it's Maybe Racing in third, but it does seem like at this point this duo is starting to pull. Oh, I'm sorry, it's AMS Phantom in third. But it does feel like this duo is kind of pulling away from everyone else in the GT category right now. They're both fighting so aggressively, but still pulling away from third to 6th. Acceler's got to run. Usually it's the Ferrari that has a run here, but this time it's Acceler. Acceler had a fantastic run coming on to the Mulsanne straight this time. Lucas outside, Acceler inside. It's a drag race, but you can visibly see that Lucas in the Ferrari has a car that has better straight line speed. Acceler is not willing to give up yet. How deep does Acceler go? No, Acceler brakes early, lets Lucas try to go deep. That's a bit of a cut from Acceler. I don't think it was intentional, but it was a bit of a cut. Falls in line, actually loses ground on Lucas in the process. So Lucas holds the position. And Lucas is in ghost mode. What's going on there? What's going on with Lucas? The car is slow. The car is in ghost mode. There's no damage to the car as far as I can tell. But Lucas, who was right at the head of this fight for GT, is suddenly slow in ghost mode as if there's been some sort of disconnect. And the shot that he had of winning this stint is now dribbling away. Travesty for the Ferrari entrant. Now, this is great news, though, for this man here, VGT Exceller, the number 310 BMW. Although Amos Phantom is just close enough to maybe make Exceller's life hard. And now, Dearth, ILWN, who had been fighting with those drivers on the first lap before sliding off. Suddenly, ILWN has moved up into 4th overall in GT right now. Although Race and Bacon and Mountain Flow kind of randomized that because they are on a slightly alternate tire strap right now. Exceller in 8th. Phantom in 9th overall, but these are the top 2 in GT. And now, AMS Phantom might just be close enough to be the new driver that Exceller has to fight. Exceller holding station. But Phantom is closing, and closing with speed. This could be really interesting for Exceller because Exceller had a cornering advantage over Lucas while the two of them were fighting. But now, if it goes down to Exceller and Phantom, it might turn into Exceller and have the straight line advantage, and Phantom has the corner advantage over him. We look back at Lucas. It looks like Lucas has gotten control of the car back, but he has fallen to 7th in category, running behind King Cameron and just ahead of Dangerous Hemi. As the top 3 are pitting. Now 4th place pits. I imagine 5th, 6th, 7th. I imagine all these drivers are going to be pitting. Now, no! EMC Vision is going to stay out a little longer by the looks of it. Or, yeah, I believe that is EMC Vision who is staying out. So Vision, in the Porsche, going to stay out a little longer, and he will be joined by Dangerous Hemi. Don't know yet about Skid Marco or NWR Origin. But now will be EMC Vision taking the lead. The fight's going to be between Exceller, Phantom, and maybe for the GT category lead. It looks like Exceller is well clear of the Ford GT for now. Maybe is actually closer to Phantom than Phantom is to Exceller. Now our prototype leaders are making their stops. Oh my goodness, Flo and maybe Racing end up right in the middle of a fight with Racing Bacon. Flo and Bacon clear, maybe. So track position for now goes in their favor. They are running 5th and 6th overall, but should turn into 3rd and 4th overall once Vision and Hemi pit out of the top spot. In the prototype category, Luzco is kind of running the strategy all on his own, going a little longer on the fuel and tires right now to lead this lap. But it is Exceller, who is 3rd right now, but should be leading overall once Vision and Hemi pit. The question is Phantom close enough to do anything to that BMW ahead? And then you have Flo, Racing Bacon, and maybe this trio of cars all on top of each other. But Flo and Bacon are on a slightly alternate strat compared to maybe. Holding the line, Bacon clears Flo in a straight line. Zabri making his 3rd stop already. Zabri is just not going to be feeling happy about his runs the rest of the day. He is making his 3rd stop, and we are not even 50 minutes into the event. We thought Stint 1 was bad for Zabri. This one, everything has completely fallen apart for him. Bacon is catching Phantom, and Phantom is just about lost Acceler. Now granted, this might just be because it's in the straightaway. Those Ford GTs are typically stronger in the corners. But right now, Phantom has just about caught, well, Racing Bacon has just about caught Phantom, and Acceler has just about lost this big fight that would be about from 2nd to 5th. Through the Indianapolis and Arnage corners. Oh, Phantom, a little bit of a twist coming into Arnage. Fires out. Acceler is pretty much gone. This is now the fight for 2nd in GT as Bacon pulls up alongside the Ford GT. It'll be a drag race, Ford versus Porsche, coming up to the Porsche curves. And then the Porsche comes right after. And it looks like the Porsche will be knocking Phantom slightly off track. Phantom is knocked offline and will now lose position also to LMP Flow, and now might lose a position to Maybe Racing. No, the Ford GT recovers and cuts down right in front of Maybe before Maybe catches him. EMC Vision pits out of the lead in the GT category. So that offsets only by about a lap, but Dangerous Hemi will stay out for a little longer. Ford versus BMW now as they come up to the Ford chicanes, and Phantom goes really deep under braking and easily clears that BMW. Volsco also finally pits out of the lead in the prototype category. So now everyone in GT except Dangerous Hemi has made their mandatory stops. Well, 2 of their mandatory 4 stops. Acceler leads with a respectable gap over Bacon as Bacon is starting to clear away from LMP Flow, who is now being pressured by AMS Phantom here. And meanwhile, in the prototype category, IRISG leads over Sea Dwarf. Then it will be Nano. And then it looks like it is Jamesy, followed by Viluzco, who has been fighting off and on with TJ throughout the majority of this event. That is now currently a fight for 5th overall in the prototype category. And then Zabari is about half a lap back after a big accident earlier. Phantom, who is 4th in this 4-car fight. He's got to run on Flow. Ford GT should have the braking advantage. He's clear. Maybe Racing tries to follow, but there's no room. Flow accelerates out, but is blocked just a bit. And now Maybe has to run on Flow. Phantom trying to close back in on Racing Bacon now. So it looks like Acceler is now in the overall leading position, but Acceler makes a single mistake. This fight for GT 2nd could explode in a lot of different ways. Phantom in that Ford GT has not really been very fast in a straight line. I would not be surprised to see Flow pull alongside. Here it comes. Phantom outside, Flow inside. Flow should be most of the way past the Ford GT under braking, you would think. But no, that's not the case. But Flow was the one who's a little bit braver under braking that time and gets the position. And now Maybe's the one who tucks up behind the Ford GT. But while all these drivers are fighting, Bacon might be in a spot to pull away, break away from what could become a fight for 3rd, and maybe Bacon can try and run down Acceler. Timmy finally pinning out the lead in the GT category. Look at that fight there. Phantom has to back out significantly as your prototype leader goes by. Prototype clears Racing Bacon just as they get into the forged chicanes. Bacon's honestly did a good job keeping pace with Iris Z going through the forged chicanes that time. And that fight for third is still alive. It's Maybe Racing now versus AMS Phantom. Well, I should say the fight for fourth. This flow seems to have cleared them just for the moment. Door to door, Phantom just not giving Maybe the room he wants. And here comes the prototype. That is Sea Dwarf, who wants to get by these guys to try and catch Iris. But it's just not working out for Sea Dwarf. These GT drivers will not stop fighting amongst each other. But the top three now all have enough of a gap between them. I don't think we'll be seeing any big moves amongst their top three, at least not right now. Although Bacon trying to get a draft off of Sea Dwarf, but Flo might be closing down on Bacon just a bit. And while Bacon was closing down on Acceler just a few moments ago, now it seems like Acceler is pulling away from Bacon. Or not. Every corner it feels like the momentum between these two kind of goes in different directions. All right, we're going to go to an ad break and try and knock out an ad break here while the fight at the front is calmed down a little bit. We'll be back shortly here at Circuit de la Sarthe. Well, welcome back to LeMans, Circuit de la Sarthe, and again, the momentum has shifted. Bacon, while he was closing on Acceler, had a bit of a hiccup, and now it's Flo who is in second, and they are both right on the rear wing of VGT Acceler as Prototype lead traffic got through and cut them out, cut through these guys, and kind of semi-randomized the gaps between them all, and now our top three are all nose to tail once again. This GT fight has been a fight that will not stop here in Stint 2. There's not been any crazy strategy calls, although Flo is on a slightly alternate strategy, as is Racing Bacon compared to Acceler, but the strategy differences haven't been extreme or anything. Most of this has just been knuckles out, and here we are. Flo is right on the rear wing of Acceler. Big twitch by Acceler as they come out of the Ford chicane, and looking at the top five, we're all still on the same straightaway. It's a Porsche, a Ford, and 3 BMWs fighting for the lead here in GT. Flo is right there behind Acceler, and Bacon is ready to capitalize off both of them. They're all nose to tail as they go under the Dunlop bridge, through the Dunlop S's. All right, Acceler has it for the moment. Flo tucked up behind. Who gets a good exit out of this corner? That may be the big thing that decides us all. Flo's right there. He's going to have the draft. And Bacon is not too far behind. Bacon should have some draft off of these two BMWs as well. It is 3 different German cars. Well, 2 German cars in the top 3 positions. Here we are. BMW drag race as they go down the Mulsanne straight. Flo is going to complete the overtake well before they get to the braking zone. So now Flo is the one who goes to the top. Acceler pulls up right behind. Is trying to maximize his exit to try and get alongside on the exit. Flo still has a position. They're all nose to tail for top 3 positions this time. Here comes Acceler. Now he'll look to the inside. Drag race once again between the 2 BMWs. Racing Bacon and the Porsche just watching. Not all the way past as they get to the braking zone, but Acceler goes deeper. Flo holds on to second, just barely stays ahead of Racing Bacon. And as these 3 continue to fight, it's braiding 4th place AMS Phantom back in the fray again. I feel like I'm a broken record with how many times I've said that today. This fight for the GT lead has been going on for almost a full hour today without stopping. Big twitch by Acceler under braking. Flo to the inside. Acceler outside. Flo's got him. Coming out Mulsanne corner. Now Acceler has the draft once again. Pulling out. It is nose to tail still on the longest straightaway here. And they're going to come into the fastest corner on the track in the Indianapolis and Arnage complex. Acceler, look to the inside. We gotta be side by side under braking. How deep do you go? Acceler backs out of it. He doesn't want to go side by side through here. But Flo was a little bit slow. Here comes Acceler. Does he make a move? Flo defends the inside. Acceler is not gonna push the issue. And the process actually backs Acceler up, backs Bacon up as well, gives Flo a small amount of breathing room now on the run up to the Porsche curves again. AMS Phantom is almost there, almost right on top of this trio again. And just a little bit behind, Phantom is Baby Racing. All right, now the BMWs are back right on top of each other through the Porsche curves again. We know these cars are built the same, but we don't know how they're tuned for the advantage of the drivers in them. I feel like Flo has something that's a little bit better for straight line speed. Acceler has something that lets them go a little bit more aggressive into the corners. Nose to tail, into the 4 chicanes once again. You don't dare make a move here for fear of getting a distance penalty. Acceler backs out again. And that brings Racing Bacon into the fray again now. On to the straight. This fight for the lead in GT has been going on for an entire hour. And while Acceler did have about 2 laps where he led without anyone right on his rear wing, now that has changed and he is now trying to get the lead back. Acceler tucked up behind Flo once more. Yes, for the moment, they get away from Bacon a little bit, but then Acceler has to back out of the corner so he doesn't run over Flo, and it brings Racing Bacon right back into the fray each time it happens. Right now, board Bacon in the Porsche, that's 3rd in GT right now. You see Acceler has a better run out of that corner onto Mulsanne straight, and while Flo has a straight line speed advantage, Acceler is in the draft and able to negate most of it. Here comes Acceler to the inside. You can see it right in front of us. Acceler has the inside line advantage. Flo's straight line advantage is not nearly as big as the advantage that we saw Lucas holding earlier. Acceler has completed the overtake before they get into the first of the Mulsanne chicane. Acceler goes to the front. Now Flo is in second, and Flo has to hope that he has enough speed to catch the draft and run Acceler back down. Bacon continues to run in 3rd, but doesn't seem to be in a position to really go for the move here. Top 3 have kind of calmed down just enough that they pulled a small gap on Phantom. And Flo now makes the move on Acceler, goes deep into the 2nd chicane, and Flo is back ahead in this fight. Again, these two BMWs are so even to each other on pace that the draft and the placement of your cars seem to just kind of randomize who's actually leading. Now it's Acceler again who's got the run. Acceler to the inside of Flo. Drag race neck and neck into the hardest corner on the track, Mulsanne corner. Flo trying to take the long way around, Acceler the tighter way around. There's a drag race on the way out, and neither of them can really clear each other. Bacon is right on top, all the way up. One of these two are going to have to brake early, and that is prototype traffic going by there. They're side by side for fourth as well between Maybe and Phantom farther back. Flo and Acceler still in a dead heat. Who goes deeper? It's Flo who goes deeper. May have gone too deep. He's sideways. He slide jumps right from Acceler. Acceler's gonna cross him over onto the run to Arnage. Flo has the position. And Acceler backs out. Acceler seems to really have trouble getting a good run through Arnage there. So Flo has it. And in the process, that backed Racing Bacon up again. And despite the fact that Phantom and Maybe were also side by side going into those corners, they actually closed in just a little bit because those top three will not stop fighting with each other. And out the back of Flo, you can see Acceler and Racing Bacon just behind, and look at that, you can see that Phantom and Maybe are slowly closing on this trio again. And here they come, everyone in the top 5 in GT, all paying at the same time. So this will briefly put EMC Vision into the lead in the GT category. We're not really, I do apologize, we're not really focusing on the prototype category because outside of Zabri's big accident in the first 15 minutes, the prototype category has mostly solved itself and resolved itself at this stage of the event. Dangerous Hemi, who is on his own very unique strategy, will naturally clear this group. But now, look at this as they come out of the pits. Flo, Bacon, Accel, all on top of each other. Bacon's actually gotten ahead of Acceler in the pit lane. But all three of these are all nose to tail once more. Again, these three cannot get away from each other. And Maybe and Phantom are also right on top of each other all over again. Maybe clears Phantom right out of the pits. Okay, so now it is Flo who leads over Racing Bacon. Is there anything that Bacon can do? Bacon's usually been the third wheel in this fight, just kind of hanging back, watching the two BMWs go at it. But now Bacon is second. Is he got anything in that Porsche to let him take the fight on? Here comes Bacon to the inside. Drag race once again for what will overall be the GT category lead. And Bacon clears Flo. It's not even close. That Flo didn't even get a chance to muster a defense. And now we start seeing the prototype categories. And that's an incident. Flo got into an incident. He's not the only one. That is Acceler. Acceler has had it. The accident coming out of the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. And the car is destroyed. The front of the car is absolutely destroyed. And he is going to hemorrhage a huge amount of time. And Acceler, who might have had a very small advantage, but might have been the fastest car in this fight, is out of it. Earlier, it was Lucas, who seemed to be the fastest car at the head of the GT category, but he had some sort of controller disconnect, was ghost mode for a full minute, and dropped out of the fight. Now, Acceler is the one who has an accident coming out of the first of the Mulsanne chicanes. The car is destroyed. Early in the lap, he is going to lose so much time, so much track position. He is out of it. And it was right out of pit lane as well. So to add insult to injury, this might actually screw him over in overall pit stops as well. He may have to make this a 5-stop race. And now, this means that Racing Bacon leads. Flo has actually lost a big chunk of time Well, I don't think he has any damage after that. He has lost a big chunk of time to Racing Bacon. And now, Flo might be under threat from AMS Phantom and maybe Racing. So the two best drivers, the two best cars, they're not massively better, but the two slightly better cars in GT, Lucas in the Ferrari and Acceler in the BMW, both have incidents that take them out of the running for what could be a top 5 result. And now it is Racing Bacon and LMP Flo. Reminder, those two got a slightly alternate strategy early on to try and run laps in cleaner air, but they've taken these positions on merit. They've synced back up with everyone else on strategy, and they took those spots on merit. All right, so now Bacon leads. And all this has actually kept Maybe in good contention. Remember, Maybe fell to an outright 6th place finish, although it might be slightly better based on how penalties will go. But Maybe fell to a 6th place finish in Stint 1. This stint Maybe has been much more aggressive, much more punchy throughout this event, and is still 4th. Now obviously if those two didn't crash out, Maybe would have fallen to 6th already, but Maybe has kept in touch with the lead group in 4th right now. EMC Vision and Dangerous Hemi stay out for a little bit longer here. Racing Bacon has opened up a respectable gap on Flo. Flo was just trying to pull away from AMS Phantom. He wants to just focus on turning out clean laps. I imagine Flo is very confident that he can catch Racing Bacon on track just on merit of lap times. So Lucas now clears Acceler, and Acceler is likely going to fall to next to last in the grid. He's not the only one who's been struggling today. Vidalinu, we believe, got knocked off strategy by an accident that we did not catch, but Vidal has not been anywhere close to competitive in this event. This car was first across the line at the end of Stint 1, although there will likely be huge penalties coming. But the results in Stint 2 have not even remotely followed that up for Vidal, although he might be in position to maybe clip over NWR Origin and Acceler. Well, Acceler has completed their last mandatory stop. If they can figure a way to go the last 30 minutes without making another pit stop, I guess Acceler might be able to close a little bit of time out of this. And then you have NWR Origin, who has just been massively off pace most of the day. Farther up the grid, you have Skid Marco, kind of in his own zone, not really doing anything. Kind of been by himself most of the day. Then a little bit higher up is King Cameron. Cameron, kind of a similar position, although Cameron might be able to inherit a position or two. He's not too far from Lucas. Lucas has been faster, but if Lucas has another incident or gets distance penalties again from something I've not seen, maybe Cameron can clip him. But right now, Cameron is running 10th overall in the GT category. And a little bit higher up is Lucas. Lucas seemed to be the best driver early on in the GT category, but something went wrong. The car went ghost mode for about a solid minute, lost a huge chunk of time in the process. While it's not destroyed his strategy, it's put him so far behind in lap time that yes, he's running clean air now, but he just does not have enough time to make it all up. Then you get Dirth Ilwin. Ilwin and Lalba are having a bit of a fight for what will be, I believe, a 5th position. 6th position. No, 5th probably. Dirth went actually 3 wide with Maybe Racing and Lucas going into this very corner, the start of the Indianapolis Arnage complex, but Dirth lost control of the car, somehow kept the car from hitting the wall, had no damage, was able to continue, but he fell all the way back to last. So Dirth is just trying to claw his way back up through the grid, but it seems like his forward momentum has kind of stalled out here at this stage of the event. He'll need more bad luck to befall the drivers higher up. Lalba has actually ran in this position on track the majority of the day today. Not really a whole lot of craziness going on with him, but it seems like Dearth has caught him, and I think these two are likely going to continue to fight for position to the end. Then you get into these positions. This will be third and fourth. It has gone back and forth between Maybe Racing and AMS Phantom for a while. Every now and again, Phantom will clear Maybe, and he'll close in just enough to where he can see the cars and define the cars ahead of him, but then Maybe closes him back in, or pit stops happen, and Phantom falls back behind Maybe. Phantom is in a Ford GT that seems to have a straight line speed advantage. Typically, we think of the Ford GTs of having more of a coordinated advantage, but Phantom is really sideways there in the chicanes. But you can tell Phantom seems to have a car that is really kitted out for straight line speed. And I wonder if that's kind of what's hurting him / helping him for the most part. Maybe started up front, led several laps early on, so he's had a much more aggressive, much stronger second stint compared to his first stint. But still seems to be the slower of the BMWs at the front of this field right now. But these two have been fighting for what currently will likely be third and fourth position in the GT category, and likely this fight will go to the end. Then you have LMP Flo and Racing Bacon, who are leading the GT category. They got on a slightly alternate strategy early on, spent some more laps in cleaner air, got them into a place where they could fight for the overall stint win. But Flo had an accident with Acceler coming out of the first Mulsanne chicane. Acceler's car was destroyed. Flo lost a lot of time, but he was able to keep going, didn't lose nearly as much time. However, Flo is now kind of caught in a no man's land. You can see Racing Bacon ahead, but doesn't seem to have the lap time to catch them. You can see Pham and Maybe behind. Those two don't seem to be able to catch him. So Flo right now seems to have stabilized out into second position. Flo got a fourth in the last stint. Might be higher than that once penalties are accessed. Flo might be set up to get a second position in this stint as well. And then you have Racing Bacon. Bacon's teammate in this Porsche was dead last in stint 1. This 711 Porsche was nowhere near the front at the end of stint 1. That's not the case here. Bacon has been a lot more relaxed, a lot more reserved, not really pushing or punching really aggressively on the track. But after the most recent set of stops, Bacon ended up second, went for a big move, and got ahead of Flo and Acceler. And just after clearing them, that's when Flo and Acceler got into each other. And when the two of them had their accident, it's let Bacon open up this big gap on the rest of the field. It's taken about an hour and 10 minutes. But finally, it seems like we have an established GT category leader, though I don't know if it's going to stay that way to the end of this event. And then the two drivers ahead, Dangerous Hemi, who is in second in GT right now, is running an alternate strategy. He has been going much longer throughout, but I imagine that they will gradually be making their stints shorter and shorter as this goes on. Also, he's not super far ahead of Racing Bacon, so I do imagine that once it's all shaken out, Dangerous Hemi will likely end up in about 5th position. A little bit ahead of Dangerous Hemi is EMC Vision, who is trying to do something similar, trying to run really long on strategy, just trying to run more laps in cleaner air to get in a better position. To be fair, Vision's pace looked like he was going to be outside of the top 10 in GT, but all these laps in cleaner air might help him out. The big thing, though, is obviously Vision and Dangerous Hemi only have 14 minutes to knock out their last 2 stops. So it's not looking great for them. These two drivers need to make sure they don't do what we saw Amaryllis do in stint 1 and make their final stop too late. They have to make their last 2 stops in the closing minutes here. And I'm not saying that you can't do it. There's definitely time, but they need to figure out when they're going to make the stops. And as I say that, EMC Vision is coming into the pits right now. Will Dangerous Hemi join him in the Ferrari? Meanwhile, in the top category is Apex Iris G, who has pretty much been at the head of the field without issue. Didn't start on pole, but got to the lead relatively early on and kind of walked off with it. Sea Dwarf started near the back of the prototype grid, fought his way up to second. Real lot of chaos around him, but Dwarf kept his nose relatively clean throughout the event. Then AMS Jamesy, who is honestly in this really interesting squat setup that we normally see on GT cars. He is making it work today in the prototype category, might have a 3rd place in play. Then we have V Luzco, who has kind of ran in the position he started most of the day. VRTTJ111 was fighting with Luzco for some time for the position, but something has gone wrong with TJ and has caused him to lose a lot of time on track as this has gone on. So while him and Luzco are on the same strategy still, TJ has lost a significant amount of track time compared to Luzco. It looks like TJ's day is going to stall out in 5th position here, unless Zabri can catch them, and even then it's going to be iffy. Zabri started midfield, fought up to 3rd, had an incident in the first few corners, literally the first few corners of the race. They hadn't even completed a full lap. Zabri fell back to last in the prototype fight, started finding his way back up, got all the way back up to a fight for 2nd and 3rd all over again, and then in these in the corners we just got out of, Zabri had a big accident, destroyed the front and the rear of the car in the Porsche curves, and that's kind of put him well behind in track position and well behind on strategy as well. There might be a chance that Zabri can catch TJ before the end of this. Nano was actually in 2nd for a time in this event. I do believe though that we've likely missed an incident that may have happened with Nano, but Nano will likely be fine with Zabri for 6th. Maybe they have to do something with TJ, but I doubt it. But Zabri and Nano pretty much last in the running prototypes. Dominguez was another prototype, but he lagged out in the middle of the first round of pit stops. He's been the only lag out thus far in this stint. We have about 12 minutes left until everyone makes their final stops here. And Racing Bacon and Flo back at the head of the field here. Bacon maintained his advantage over Flo. Flo has pulled open a gap on Phantom. Where it has happened to Maybe? Maybe has lost a lot of time. There's no damage to Maybe, but Maybe has suddenly lost a huge chunk of time to Phantom. Is Maybe going to be under threat from Lala or EMC Vision or Dirk Ilvin? Well, we are going to go ahead and knock out an ad break here. And when we come back, we should start seeing the rest of the field making their final stops, their final mandatory stops in today's event. Don't go away. We'll be back here at Circuit de la Stars shortly. Welcome back to LeMans. Lulba, EMC Vision, and Dirk Ilwin have all made their final stops, so they will run these last 19 minutes on this set of fuel and tires here. But 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Our top 7 in GT also have yet to make their final stop. Maybe Racing was right on top of Phantom for a while, but something seemed to have happened to have caused Maybe to really fall off. We may have missed it. Might have been a spin. The gap's not big enough, I think, for it to have been a spin, but whatever has happened has significantly opened the gap between the two of them. There also is an off chance, not a guarantee, but a possible chance that Phantom might catch LMP Flow and make it a fight for second to the end of this GT category here. jumping over the curbs. Again, I think Phantom has a setup that is more squatted rear, raised nose. A little harder to see on the 4GT, but I think that is indicative that this car is more set up for straight line speed, not as great in the corners, which is very interesting because the 4GT is traditionally a cornering car. The Phantom has really got this thing kitted out for straight line speed, and that seems to be where he closes the most on the cars ahead. Well, I've not really seen him be able to do anything in a straight fight. He has had several times where he has ended up in the third or fourth position, kind of closing on the leaders, but not really been able to do anything directly to them. If Phantom catches flow, I think this would be the first time we'd really see Phantom fight his way up. A lot of the time, Phantom's been spending more time defending or stalking. He's not really been attacking forward. It's just more been defending back. So IRISG and C Dwarf in the prototype category, making their final stops now. So this might hand the lead over to V. No, I think V Luz goes far enough back, he won't take the lead. But even then, I imagine he'll have to start. He'll stop very shortly here. Jamesy, who has already made his fourth stop, might actually eclipse Luzco once Luzco has made his final stop. But Luzco's going to stay out this lap at least. Bit of a cut there. Sure won't be happy about that. TJ has actually fallen behind Zabri at this stage of the event. So despite starting up at the head of the field, TJ has really been struggling to make heads or tails of this event. It's just not been working out in his favor today. Falling out of the top 5, and he still has to make one more stop. There's a high likelihood we could see him drop behind Nano and be last of the runners at the end of this. I imagine they will not be happy about that. All right, Flo, Phantom, and Maybe all making a stop at the same time. Is Lucas going to be joining them here? So they are making their stops with about 16 minutes left. So Bacon. All right, here comes Lucas as well. So Bacon, what about King Cameron and Dangerous Hemi? Here comes Cameron, what of Hemi? Is Hemi going to pit this lap, or is he going to go one more? There's just enough time on the circuit. You'll have to pit next time by. You'd be paying with about 11 and a half minutes left. But it looks like Hemi and Racing Bacon are going to make their final stop as late as possible. The overcut seems to generally be a stronger option here at LeMans, but I don't know if it's going to be enough to really give anyone a significant advantage or not. Flo still ends up ahead of Phantom by a significant margin. And Maybe is really far off of Phantom. We see Lulba, Dirk Ilwin, and Vision all clearing Lucas and Cameron. But Maybe is well ahead of them. Well, no, Maybe is not actually that far ahead of Lala in the Porsche. This is the highest ranked Porsche in this stint. I think Lulba is set to maybe take 5th in this Porsche here. Big thing is, Dangerous Hemi, when he pits, he's going to likely fall all the way back to about 9th or 10th in the group. Yeah, Lullaby is now right behind Maybe. Well, that was a bit of a cut. But Lullaby is not now right behind Maybe here on track. So after a very, very crazy first 70 minutes of the event, it seems like the last half hour of Stint 2 calms down just a little bit. In prototypes, interestingly enough, Velusco is waiting until the last possible moment. Oh, and Velusco's had an accident! Velusco's had an accident in the Porsche curves while leading in the last moments! Now the good news is Velusco was gonna make a stop this time anyway, but that's gonna hurt them! And Velusco, leading in the prototypes on an off sequence, has an accident with less than 15 minutes left in the Porsche curves. It's almost an exact repeat of what happened to Zabri early in the event. So Velusco's going to have to spend a long time in pit road just to repair the damage. This is going to drop him well down the order. But the good news for Velusco, though, is that he should have such a gap on the rest of the field. I don't think he'll fall out of 5th position. I think he'll fall just to 5th. We'll see. Also, TJ will have to pit as well. The Porsche curves have been eating up prototypes today. This seems to be the only corner where prototypes have really had an accident. Here comes TJ making his final stop. And yeah, the way it's looking, TJ might actually be last. He's not had any big accidents as far as I can tell. But TJ is going to be last on the grid off of pace. Well, no, actually I take it back. Nano is making a 5th stop. So Nano might be faster, but Nano had that accident that's required an extra stop. All right, Bacon making his final stop. And Dangerous Hemi should be pitting this time as well. Oh, there's a little bit of engine damage on the Ferrari. That's not going to help him. Frustration, though, for Luzco, but after it's all done, Luzco, despite having that accident, it's not by a lot, but Luzco is still ahead of Jamesy. But now Jamesy has a legitimate shot at stealing 3rd place from Luzco. So the prototype category, that has been a relatively simple, straightforward battle throughout the majority of this stint, now all of a sudden has a fight for the last step on the podium between Luzco and Jamesy. Luzco had it, but an accident while he was running off strategy has now pushed him back into the grips of Jamesy. And is that... No, that is not. That is... Who is that behind him? That is Zabri. He's not right on top, but if something happens between the two of them, Zabri might be able to steal 3rd or 4th. All right, meanwhile in GT, Racing Bacon leads. He has finally made his final stop. Everyone has made the required stop before the required time, so we will not have a repeat of the controversy from Stint 1. Bacon has a massive gap on LMP Flo. Flo has a small gap on Phantom. Then it's maybe Lulba who are having a fight for 4th, and there's Dirth Irwin right there in the middle of it as well. Fight for GT and a fight in prototypes. Jamesy and Luzco. Side by side into Indianapolis Arnage. Jamesy goes way deeper. Jamesy's got it. Luzco puts the power down. Through Arnage. Jamesy powers out without issue. Zabri is right there in the area to fight if something goes wrong here. We have 2 different distinct fights going on right now with a little less than 10 minutes left in the event. Oh, Luzco! Big sideways moment from Luzco! He's around! He's really around! Deep into the dirt! No damage! But that's the 2nd time in 3 laps that Luzco hasn't in the Porsche curves! And now suddenly Zabri has recovered to 4th! Granted, a lot of it is off the back of other people's misfortune, but Zabri, after that big accident early in the event, is now up to 4th! Maybe he'll have a shot at Jamesy. We'll see here. Meanwhile, look at this! A 4-car fight for 4th! Vision, Lulba, maybe, Dirth Irwin. Irwin spun out on lap 1, going into Indianapolis Arnage while fighting this guy, maybe here. Dirth has fought his way back. He has caught maybe once more. And Dirth might be able to steal a 4th, but maybe he's not giving it up. And Lulba's there, and Vision's there. Maybe goes really deep under braking. Can he complete it? He does. He slides jobs. Irwin now goes around the outside. Here comes Irwin. Neck and neck into Arnage. Maybe has the inside line advantage. Hip checks Ilwin a bit. Now there's 3 wide on exit. Here comes Lulba. It's a drag race up to the Porsche curves, and Ilwin does not seem to have the straight line speed. It's Lulba, maybe, who seem to be the ones who will be in a dead heat coming up to the Porsche curb. Who's it gonna be between them? It looks like it will be the Porsche of Lolba. Ilwin makes contact with Maybe. And now Ilwin pulls up alongside briefly with the Porsche, but has to pull back out of it. Vision gets alongside Maybe just a little bit farther back. Lolba struggling to stay ahead of Dearth. Dearth is just able to stay right behind that Porsche's rear wing. Nose to tail, into the Ford chicanes now. 7.5 minutes left, so these drivers will complete this lap and the majority of one more lap here. Real quickly, I want to look at a potential fight for third. In prototypes, Jamesy is being caught by Zabri. Jamesy also has a small amount of engine damage. Zabri does not. Could Zabri do it? Could Zabri recover from that big accident in the first few laps here and maybe get a third? It would be the biggest recovery drive we have seen. We also have this focus on the fight for fourth in GT, but it looks like Ilwin has enough of an advantage over Lolba. The big thing is, though, that Lolba is been a little bit faster on a straight line. Maybe Racing and EMC Vision are having their own fight for 6th position. Vision seems to have the straightaway speed over Maybe right now. And Ilwin now dealing with Lolba. Lolba on the outside. And he's going to squeeze Ilwin. And Lolba's through in the first chicane. So while the fight at the front of GT has calmed down, the fight for every spot outside of the top 3 is still on. And Zabri's gotten by Jamesy. We missed it. But Zabri's gotten by Jamesy. I can't believe it! Zabri has gotten by Jamesy! He is on the recovery drive of the night! After that gigantic accident in the Porsche curves! While fighting for second! He won't get a second, but it looks like third is on the cards now! Meanwhile in GT, Lolba has fourth. Dearth Ilwin wants it back. The Porsche's ahead, but the Ford GT is in the Porsche's draft, and that will negate some of the Ford's straight line speed disadvantage. EMC Vision for now has cleared Maybe Racing, and despite being a lot more aggressive and fighting a lot better, Maybe could actually be on track to finish worse in position than where he did in Stint 1, just because the GT fight has been so much closer throughout the majority of the day. Big sideways moment, big twitch by Ilwin. That's gonna let Lolba open up the gap just a little bit more. We are just about done here with Stint 2 at LeMans. After this, we will go through a long series of night stints. Lolba sliding around right in front of Ilwin. Ilwin can put his car anywhere he wants. The problem is that Ford GT does not have the straight line speed he needs. He pulls to the inside of Lolba. It's a drag race as they come up to the Ford chicane. Who goes deeper? It's Ilwin who easily goes deeper. And Lolba falls back behind Ilwin once more. These drivers will be just about at the start of the Porsche chicanes at the end of the lap here. Whatever has happened to Jamesy, he has completely lost touch with the drivers ahead. He is hemorrhaging time. He's got a little bit of transmission damage as well as a tiny amount of engine damage. So Zabri has pulled out a third position in prototypes near the end. Every other position in the prototype seems to have been decided. And every position in the podium for GT seems to have been decided, but Ilwin holding station over Lullaby. But Lullaby will have the advantage of 4 straightaways in a row, try and get back by the 4GT for 4th in position. And there's another fight. EMC Vision and Maybe are still fighting for 6th as well. Maybe looks to the outside. Vision has the inside. Looks like Vision still has the ideal line of choice, and Maybe is really sideways. That will probably decide that fight. I think that fight's over. So what about between Lulba and Dearth? Does Lulba have enough speed to catch Dearth before this is over? 2 minutes to the end of the stint. I don't think that Lulba will be able to catch Ilwin. There's only a minute and a half left. They'll get to the Porsche curves, but I don't think they're going to get out of the Porsche curves. Every other position seems to have been decided. While everyone's on the same straightaway as each other, not going to matter. So Dirt Ilwin, after spinning out lap 1, coming into this very corner, he will recover to 4th. The winner will be Racing Bacon in GT and will be Iris G in Prototype. Iris just needs to not make a mistake in these last 40 seconds as he navigates traffic here. Although honestly, I think that he has just enough of a gap that even if he makes a mistake, I think he'll be fine. As long as it's not, something that wrecks the car. There we are. IRC now clears Ilwin. While Lullaby is a little closer, there's just not going to be enough time. 10 seconds left. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Time's up! Over! Plow! And your winner in Prototype is... Why is the cameraman drunk? Cameraman, stop drinking. It's the Prototype right there. Focus on the Prototype right there, cameraman. No, it's that one on your left. On your left, cameraman. It's that guy. All right, you're drunk, cameraman. Go home. Your Prototype stint winner is Apex IRISG, followed by Sea Dwarf. Then THR Zabri with the most Herculean recovery drive. Then AMS Jamesy. Jamesy is sideways out of this corner. No damage. Doesn't look like he hit anything. Just probably spun out coming out. 5th place is Luzco, who's also okay, huh? Then 6th will be Nano. So Nano actually got TJ at the very end there. Did TJ have damage or something? Oh yeah, that's a lot of engine damage. That explains it. So TJ, despite starting on pole, will be last of the Protos running. Then in GT, it is Racing Bacon, who is your winner, parked right at the start-finish line as well. Followed by LMP Flow, who's not that far behind. Then AMS Phantom, who is also not that far behind. Then it's a bit of a gap to the second 4GT. That is Dirt Ilwin, with another incredible recovery drive. Not quite as impressive as Zabri's, but still pretty solid. Then Lulba will be 5th. EMC Vision will be 6th. who we can't see because cameraman is still drunk. Then Maybe Racing will be 7th. Despite fighting much better and being much closer to leaders, he will still be 7th worse in final positioning. 8th will be RZM Lucas. That Ferrari there! Thank you. Yes, cameraman, thank you. Thank you for putting down the bottle, cameraman. It's Lucas who dominated the early parts of the event, but had a long, prolonged ghost mode incident that took him out of the running. Then King Cameron will be in... Stop drinking, cameraman! Now is not the time. I know France is well known for their vineyards, but now is not the time. You're giving me sickness. Oh, oh, you're making me come down with the sickness. Cameron is going to come down in the 9th position. Acceler will be 10th after running so long in the front of the race as well. Then Dangerous Hemi will be 11th. 12th will be NWR Origin. 13th will be Skid Marco. And 14th will be Vidal. With that in mind, we're going to knock out one more ad break, and when we come back, hopefully we'll be able to start getting some interviews with some of our stint winners, our top finishers in the stints. I'm not looking at that. No, I'm not dealing with that drunk camera. We'll be back in about a minute and a half here, and hopefully we can get you some post-stint interviews here at Le Mans. All right, welcome back to Circuit de la Sarthe. Here at the end of Stint 2. We'll get underway with Stint 3 in a little bit, more than likely. We're just waiting to see Apex IRISG start moving. And once Iris starts moving, we'll know that they'll be just about done getting the final distance results, and then we will send invites out to our top 3 finishers. Seems like Luzco was not able to stick around. Neither will Exceller or Jamesy. And Zabri is dropped out as well. All right, I'm seeing a lot of people moving now. Don't know what's going on there. Staying by right now, hoping that sometime soon we'll be able to start seeing invites for interviews here. I'm going to try and get some of these myself here. Give me just a sec. All right, and it looks like we got at least one person coming in. Apex IRISD. IRISD, are you able to hear me? All right, there should be an option in the Xbox thing to include your audio. So go ahead and hit that.
Yep.
All right. Well, Iris, congratulations on winning here in the prototype category. Definitely one of the more interesting stints, but it seemed like you had that race pretty much unlocked from the start. Walk us through that event from your perspective.
To make a long story short, got past the guy in first chicane and then just walked away from there. Just kept it fast, kept it clean, kept it consistent.
Well, it sure seems like it worked here. All right, no problem, Bacon. Have a good time. Well, I do want to say it was a pretty strong drive you had out there. I do want to ask though, who's going to step into the car for Stint 3? I mean,
I believe for this car it's MRT Jackal, who is just as quick, if not faster than I am.
Ooh, that could get really, really interesting then. So we'll keep that in mind. Victory here, had a respectable top 3 result in Stint 1 as well. A victory here. I could be wrong, but I think this should put your car in overall lead out of all of the prototypes in C Lobby. I'll check later, but I believe that will be the case. So we'll be looking forward to seeing what your and Trink can do going forward. Thanks for jumping in and talking with us, mate.
Yeah, cheers.
Yep. All right, doesn't seem like we're going to be able to get interviews from anyone else on the grid after Stint 2 here. So with that in mind, we are going to go ahead and end our stream here, but we'll be back in about 3 to 5 minutes to start up the broadcast for Stint 3 here in the C lobby. I believe this will be the first of our night stints, so things will get a little bit more difficult to see, a little bit more difficult to understand. But we will be here with you all the way through. Thank you for joining us thus far today. Don't go away. I've been your host, Insane Leader 13, and we'll be back shortly here.